Welcome back. You heard from CFP. My name is Matthew Coyle. I'm the Director of Financial Planning here at ACG in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is episode 72 of You Heard It from a CFP. Our series rolls on. Took some time off, took some personal travel, haven't seen you in a bit. Kids back in school, vacation season's over. And on the subject of school, that is exactly where we are going to start for episode 72. College, how to pay for it, how to save for it, a general overview on episode 72 of You Heard It. Thanks again for being here. Let's dive in. Okay, college. It's expensive. We all know it. Let's talk about college, how to pay for it, how to fund it, just a general overview. Now, I do think that I should start this episode with a bit of a disclaimer. In all the areas of personal finance and the resources you have at your disposal in the age of the internet, this is one particular resource, one particular area where there is no central collection of great information that just a catch-all where you can go to one site or maybe even two sites and get all the information you need, right? It just doesn't exist. This is a very, let's say, disparate collection of resources. It's a bit of a quilt, let's say a patchwork of resources, a quilt that's not really well stitched together. Okay, you're just going to have to find some information out on your own, but we can cover a little bit about college funding, and it does come up this time of year because kids are going back to school. It's on parents' minds naturally, right? So we're going to talk about it. When you're thinking about college funding, where's the money going to come to pay for this? Think of it in terms of a four-legged stool. Number one, personal savings. You obviously will have some personal savings you can apply toward this, and that's one category you're going to look at. Number two, public aid. And about 70% of all aid in the marketplace is government funded, so a lot of it is public aid. So public aid is number two. Private aid, which again, like I said in the video, the very disparate collection of resources there, so you have to wear it out as far as getting on the internet and look for things. But that's one area. And then, of course, loans, public and private. So personal savings, public aid, private aid, and loans. This is how you're going to pay for this thing. This is how you're going to get it done. Some will be larger than others, and some are merit-based and some are not. But let's just take a brief look at resources in these areas really, really quickly. What is a 529 account? A 529 account is a state-administered plan, okay? It's got no federal limits. It's basically treated as a gift by the IRS, and you can open an account in any state you want for any child you have, as long as they're dependent. And they are the most popular type of personal savings, so we will look at that. A 529 plan is administered by the state in which you live, but you can invest in any state's plan. You don't have to be in the state that you live to invest in the state plan in which you live. You can invest in any state. I live in Minnesota, but my boys' accounts are in Iowa, for example. Okay, so there you go. Each state chooses an administrator, and they are very, very popular. You can transfer funds between children. If you have multiple children with multiple 529 accounts, that's of course allowed. And family members can add too. Now, what's nice about the 529 account is there is a very special rule called the 5-year acceleration rule. What is that? Basically, what that means is you can take 5 years of future gifts, you can put it into a 529 plan, and you can do it all in a single year. That is unlike any other account that you can do that. No retirement plan offers that, not really. No savings plan above and beyond any qualified plan really offers that. Only the 529 plan will allow you to take gifts, and again, these are gifts considered by the IRS to be gifts. You can take gifts and put them into a 529 plan. You can essentially cash in your next 5 years of gifts as an individual or as a couple, and you can put that directly into a 529 plan or split it between 529 plans if you like for another child. So 529 accounts, very attractive. I have them, lots of people have them, and they can be very nice vehicles to save for college. The best part about them, they grow tax-free, and you can take the money out tax-free as long as they are for educational purposes. Now, if you do that, what qualifies? Well, lots of stuff qualifies, right? You can have 4-year university, 2-year college, trade schools, technical schools, prep schools, K through 12 education technically qualifies. So these are very, very broad as far as the definition of what qualifies. And they can be very, very nice from a tax perspective because you don't have any tax on the money when it comes out for a defined education use. So if you are a parent and you have not opened up a 529 plan, you can do them directly online. They're great. I would encourage you to do it, and I would encourage you to do it right after you finish this video. So open a 529 plan, put as much money in as you probably want to, and there's huge limits. It's over $100,000, well over $100,000 in a single shot you can put in these accounts if you have the means. Not everybody does, but you can do it. And I would encourage you to do that. So please do that right after you are done with this video. All right, moving along, Roth IRAs. If you have a child who has earned income, and many of you do, you have a teenager that has babysitting revenue, maybe they umpire baseball games, maybe they go mow lawns, whatever, that is earned income. And if you have earned income, you can have a Roth IRA, and Roth IRAs are great for saving for college. You probably didn't think of that, but Roth IRAs are very commonly used for college because you always have access to the contributions that you make into a Roth IRA, plus you get tax-free growth. And as long as the account is at least 5 years old, you can have access to all the contributions and earnings that you want. So as long as you have earned income, you can open a Roth IRA, a custodial Roth IRA for your child, and begin to invest there. I would encourage you just to do that. And if you do that, just go ahead and open up one and fund some index funds, or there's something very simple, low cost. Just do that. That's probably the best way to go. And you can use that money for college. And finally, on personal savings, let's talk about direct gifts to your child. Now, if there is a bad way to pay for college, it's probably this. A lot of people want to give money to a student. Maybe you have a grandparent that wants to give a savings account to a student, or maybe there's money sitting in a bank account you want to give to a student. Please, please, please resist this temptation. Why? Because if you give money directly to a student, it will count against them more than anything for financial aid in the future if you are eligible. Student accounts, student assets, anything in the name of the student is usually the worst for financial aid. It's much better to either do one of two things if you have that inclination. If you really feel like you want to give money, here's what you can do. Either A, give it to the 529 plan as a gift, which is really great, or you can pay it if you're, let's say, a grandparent, or maybe have a niece or nephew you want to help out, whatever. You can pay the school directly for their tuition, and it does not count as a gift. By the way, the same thing counts for healthcare expenses too, but that's a different video. So when you are paying for a child's education, maybe you want to give something to a grandkid or give something to a niece or nephew, like I said, avoid the temptation to give the gift directly to the kid. It winds up actually hurting them. And when they're 18, they could take it and run anyway. So it's not going to matter. So just give it directly to the school by paying their tuition, or put it in the 529 plan through the parents. It's a great way to do it. So go that direction when you are going to give direct gifts to the child. So 529 accounts, Roth IRAs, and direct gifts to the 529 plan, or direct payments to the tuition of the school of choice is what I would recommend. Okay, source number 2, public aid. We're moving quickly here. Public aid. Now, we cannot talk about public aid for college without mentioning the 5-letter word that is ubiquitous in all of college planning, and that is, of course, the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA. Now, if you want to qualify for grants, scholarships, financial aid, even many private financial aid or private scholarships or private grants, they will queue off the FAFSA. What is the FAFSA? The FAFSA is a form you must fill out online. It describes your assets. It describes what you have in resources to pay for college, and it will determine basically how much aid you get. If you do not fill out the FAFSA by October 1st, going to repeat this, you do not fill out the FAFSA by October 1st online, you will not be considered for financial aid in that year. No exceptions, no excuses. They will not give you an extension. It's not an IRS deadline. It is a Department of Education deadline. So therefore, you need to fill out the FAFSA by October 1st. Every year, it's not a 4-year contract, every year you want to be considered for financial aid. And again, many private aid organizations and private grants and private loans also queue off the data that you put into the FAFSA. Therefore, if you don't put it into the FAFSA, they will not consider you for anything else. True story, yours truly, back in the days of mailing in the FAFSA pre-internet, did not get his FAFSA in on time. Therefore, I had to borrow the money that I might have likely got in financial aid in that year, which was really fun for me to pay back later. So don't do what I did. Don't miss the deadline. Get the FAFSA in by October 1st. And of course, once you do that, you will be eligible for financial aid and to participate in other private aid programs. So get the FAFSA in by October 1st, and that's studentaid.gov is where you can fill it out, www.studentaid.gov. All right, continuing on with the theme of financial aid, we're going to talk about private aid and scholarships for just a moment as I slow down here as I get through my material. So there is no centralized resource for all this material, but I'm going to give you 3 that I think you should probably check out. In addition, of course, to studentaid.gov, which you have to go to fill out the FAFSA, which you will do by October 1st. Do not forget. Again, no centralized resource. You're going to have to do some research on your own. Start with the school's resource. If you know where you're going to go, first thing you should do is go to that school and say, hey, what kind of resources do you have in the area of financial aid, private scholarships, private grants, and so on and so forth. Best place to start. 3 others you may want to check out. These are not endorsements of these particular places. I do not receive any compensation from any of these 3. Just a lot of resources I think might be helpful. Number 1, careeronestop.org. This is a Department of Labor website that you might want to check out is just www.careeronestop.org. Good to check out. The second one I would check out is the Chamber of Commerce website. So go to www.chamberofcommerce.org. And there are some best of college scholarships you can sort through and potentially apply for online. Most of these, honestly, are applied for online these days. Pretty much all of them are. And of course, FastWeb. FastWeb is a private organization, www.fastweb.com/college-scholarships. And go there and take a look at that as well. So those are 3 resources you may want to go to after you've filled out the FAFSA. Do not forget, 3 resources. Get the FAFSA. All right. Okay, next up, loans. Now, regardless of your financial situation in life, most of you will have to resort to at least some small loans just due to the runaway cost of college. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Unless you come from a family with significant financial resources, most people will have to engage in some capacity to engage with loans in some capacity, right? Because you're going to have to borrow probably some money to do this unless, again, you are maybe an incredible athlete with a full scholarship or an incredible student with a full scholarship. But those situations are relatively rare and becoming more rare, unfortunately. So loans must be at some level part of your situation. Now, loans do get a bad rap, but you can properly manage them. Debt is not always bad, depending on what you're acquiring the debt for. 4 types of loans. There are subsidized loans, there are unsubsidized loans, plus loans, and consolidations. What are those? Well, basically, subsidized loans is where the financial need plus interest is paid partially by Uncle Sam, by the U.S. government, by us taxpayers to help you get an education. Thank you very much. So if you are in a subsidized loan program, which again, you'll not be able to determine unless you fill out the FAFSA, then you will go fill out the FAFSA and then you will potentially qualify for a subsidized loan based on that need where part of your interest is paid for by the U.S. government. An unsubsidized loan, rather, is a loan where there's no financial need required and no interest covered, right? So you don't really need it, therefore they're not going to pay the interest for you. Sounds like a fair deal. There are plus loans, which are basically graduate loans. I forget what plus stands for, but I can probably put it down here on the screen when I'm done with this editing. Mostly graduate and professional studies are what you'd find out, or what you'd get when it comes to plus loans. So that's a little further on down your educational career if you choose to go down that route. And of course, consolidations. There are a number of consolidation loan programs out there if you already have some. We use a resource that we really like called www.gradfin.com. I'll put it right down here. It's grad, like graduate, like gradfin, fin.com, gradfin.com. And we have employees at our firm that have used that to consolidate loans and lower their interest costs. So if you have existing loans, check them out. They're a good organization. Go check that out. As far as private loans, again, here's some of the bigger players in the market you might want to take a look at. I received no benefit from recommending these or even mentioning them. Sallie Mae, of course, is a big lender in the marketplace. SoFi is a fairly large lender in the marketplace. Okay, College Avenue, ISL College Lending is another one. So there are some resources there you may want to check out in the meantime when you have some more time on your hands. And so that is the loan market in general. All right, next up, your EFC, expected financial contribution. Now, don't assume, of course, that, and a lot of people do, they make this mistake. Do not assume that you will not qualify for financial aid based on your income. You'd be surprised how many people do qualify for some financial aid. The financial aid ranges are quite generous or can be quite generous depending on your income. And not everybody is going to be disqualified just because they have a high income for a certain period of years, or maybe they have higher assets. Assets count differently based on what they are. Some count against you for financial aid and some don't. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about there what counts and what doesn't. So let's do a general overview right now. Again, this is general, right? So assets with no effect on your qualifications. If you have the following, this should not affect your qualification for financial aid. Parents' 401k accounts, Roth IRAs, retirement accounts, equity in your personal home, not a rental property, but your personal home, retirement annuities, cash value life insurance. Okay, none of those have an effect on your qualification for financial aid. A lot of people think they do, but they're wrong. They do not have any effect on your qualification for financial aid, or at least they should not. Now, assets that have some effect on you can include the following: investment real estate. If you have rentals or Airbnb properties that you're doing, that can affect you, of course. Taxable investment accounts. If you have large accounts outside of qualified plans, or maybe you have a lot of stock held in another account, for example, that can affect you. Of course, assets of the student, as I mentioned earlier, do not give money directly to the student. It's the worst way to do it. That can affect you. And to a lesser degree, 529 plans, although it's a small amount. The first 10,000 is protected, and then it's about somewhere between 5 and 6% of the assets factor in after that. So it's a relatively small effect, but it is an effect. But 529 plans are still great. I would not discourage you from using them. Again, student assets, the worst way to do it, it's roughly a 20% factor reduction. So please do not give assets directly to the student. It will affect your EFC negatively. And finally, let's talk strategy when it comes to college. Now, how you pay for things, and when I say how, I mean in what order. How you pay for things, the draw order, really can make a big difference. Now, I would suggest a strategy very similar to funding your retirement costs when you're paying for college. Okay, here's what I would suggest you look at. It's not the end all be all, but it's a strategy you might want to consider. Most of the people I speak with when it comes to college planning, we talk about the following. We talk about the following order. Number one, bank savings that you might not need in the next 12 months. If you have cash sitting around, and lots of people do these days, okay? Lots of people are in cash-like instruments right now with rates where they are. If you have bank savings that you don't think you're going to need in the next 12 months, or maybe you have extra, consider starting there, because those, of course, will affect your EFC if you file. And of course, if you're not going to be using them, you're probably not earning that much interest on them anyway, so you probably could be saving more on the cost side by using them for college. So start there. Any income from parents in the current year, anything you've inherited, anything you receive an income from, maybe from an extra job, or whatever you're doing, that income should probably come next as far as devoting to that. Number three, gifts from family or grandparents. That was the next thing that you'd probably want to focus on as far as in the order. Next in the list would be 529 accounts, Coverdell accounts if you have those. You want to try and leave your Roth IRA values for last, just like you would when you're funding your retirement, okay, when you're drawing retirement monies out of your plans. So bank savings, income from parents in the current year, gifts from grandparents or family, anything under the IRS cap, 529 plans and Coverdells, and then of course Roth IRA values would be last. If you can help it, you want to save your 529 plans and your Roth IRAs, if you have those, for the back half of your college experience. If you can fund the first half of your college experience with income and savings, and the last half with 529 plans and Roth IRAs, that's great. Not everybody can do that, I get it. But wait till the back half so those assets can grow tax-free during the first 2 years. All right, so that is a lot of material to go to. Check out those websites I gave you. Go take a look at studentaid.gov. Go look at your resources that are available. Again, no centralized database for all this stuff. You just got to get on Google or whatever your favorite search engine is and wear it out. I wish you the best of luck. Again, this has been episode 72. My name is Matthew Coyle. And of course, we'll be back very soon on a more regular schedule now that we are back into what appears to be turning into the fall season because it just got chilly out. So good luck to you. I'll see you next time. And thanks again for tuning in. Bye.